Let's create a beach landscape. Hey there, awesome art kiddos. I hope you're having a great day. I am. I'm ready to do another art lesson with you, and I'm hoping that you can join me for some fun. Let's get started. First off, my friends, to make my beach scene today, I used a combination of tempera paint. These are tempera cakes. They're little hard cakes of tempera paint. And then I also used oil pastels. Now, if you don't have paint or oil pastels, you could really do this project with paper and markers, crayons, watercolors, whatever things that you have on hand, color pencils. Hopefully, if you're going to do the collage version, you have access to some type of glue. It could be glue stick, or it could be tacky glue, Mod Podge, or, Elmer's glue, whatever you've got. So let's gather some supplies and get started. As far as paper is concerned, I just grabbed 2 sheets of paper. Now really, one is going to become my landscape background. That's going to be the ocean, the sand, and the sunset or sunrise if you want it to be a sunrise. The other piece of paper, I don't need the whole thing. As a matter of fact, I like to fold it in half and just cut it down the middle. And you could save that other half for if you make a mistake and want to try your palm tree a second time, or to make another picture. This way we know that when we're drawing our palm tree, it's going to fit into our scene. As a matter of fact, you won't even need it from top to bottom. So that way you'll know, hey, my palm tree is going to fit into my picture. And if it doesn't quite fit, and you'll see later, mine didn't. I just trimmed off the extra. The first step I want to take is to create my landscape. Landscape is my nature scene, and my scene today will be at the beach. I'm going to start with one line that goes all the way from one side of my paper to the other. I'm letting it curve a little bit so it can be sand hills. The second line, a little higher up, is my horizon line. That's where the sky meets the water, the ocean. I want a really big sunset, so I just drew a nice rainbow curve and am adding some nice sun rays coming off of that rainbow curve that's right at the ocean horizon line. Now I could pretend this is a sunrise or a sunset. You pick. And if you want to draw a different sunshine up in the sky, of course you can. Okay, I'm going to dip into my tempera paints. Remember, you want to be careful to just dance your paint across the top, or dance your brush across the top of the paint, excuse me. And these paints haven't been used today, so I'm having to wake them up a bit, which means that I'm needing to rub the top of the paint with my brush a little bit to make sure that I can spread some color. Go ahead and paint your scene in the way you like it. And you may notice that one of the things I like to do is mix my colors. So in the ocean, for example, I mixed blue and green. Now you might think green, but blue and green make teal. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut my second sheet of paper in half, like I showed you earlier. I have this little cutter machine, but of course, if you don't have that, then go ahead and just use a good old pair of scissors. Let's talk about how to make the palm of the palm tree. That's the big leafy greens. I like to start with a line. I let mine curve because palm trees blow in the wind. I start at one end with a wiggle line and wiggle all the way to the other end. And then I do the same type of wiggle line on the other side. Let's see that again. Line, the top of the line, wiggle, wiggle to the bottom, and wiggle, wiggle, wiggle to the bottom on the other side. One thing you don't want to do is to do zigzags that keep touching that middle line. That'll make cutting your palm tree out later really hard, so let's not do that. If wiggly palm leaves are difficult for you, you can do it a different way. You do your straight line, and then you can do smooth curve lines on each side. Then for texture for the palm, I'm adding some little short lines going from the center to the outer edges. Let's see it again. Line, smooth curve, and then little texture lines going from that middle line out to the out edge on each side. Okay, here we go. And even though I'm drawing in Sharpie, remember you can start in pencil and then outline it later. Let's start with a coconut, a nice oval. I'm going to add a second coconut. So I'm just going to do a little curve line going from one side to the other. Now I can start doing palm leaves. I went from the center of the two coconuts where they meet and did my curve line, and I'm now adding my wiggles. Oop, that wiggle's going to start on the coconut, a little bit on the edge. There's one going to the left, so how about a palm leaf to the right? Let's see, where should I start the wiggle line? There we go. Wiggle on one side, and then wiggle on the other, starting on the little bit on that coconut. All right, let's see. Maybe I'll have one hanging down, might go behind the coconut a little bit. Wiggle line, wiggle line. You do them until you have enough leaves that you're satisfied. I could stop there, or I could add a little bit more. I'm going to do an odd number. Sometimes in nature, when you draw an odd number, like 3 or 5, then sometimes your plants look a little more natural. I could go there, but I'm going to add one more to make that 5th palm. Now remember, you do it where you're happy with your drawing. Now that I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 palms, I'm going to add the trunk of my tree. The trunk often kind of curves a little bit because it's always being blown by that blustery ocean wind. So see how my lines are curving? And do you notice it gets a little bit wider on the bottom than it is at the top? The bark of the palm tree is kind of unique. So I'm using a zigzag pattern to go all the way across the trunk of my tree in rows. Don't worry if the zigzags go outside your tree trunk a bit. Remember later, we're going to be cutting this tree out. Oh yeah, I'm going to put a little bit of texture on my coconuts. If you've ever held a coconut, they're kind of furry. Now I'm ready to color in my palm tree with oil pastels. Remember, you can use any art materials you have on hand. Let's start with the palm leaves. I have 2 shades of green. I'm going to outline my leaf with my darker green. Let's get the edges and that nice middle line. Got to push down to get a nice dark color. Add a little bit more in that middle. Then I'm going to grab my light green, and I'm just going to color in my leaf. As I'm coloring in with the light green, it's going to kind of mix and swirl around with that dark green and give me a nice shaded palm leaf. You don't have to do this, but I like to do it because it makes my leaf look really nice. Here we go. I'm going to finish my leaves. Since I have these beautiful texture lines of bark on my palm tree trunk, I'm going to do another little mix of colors. I want it to be brown, but I don't want it to be just one dark brown, so I picked yellow and peach. You might think those are weird, but nope, it's going to make nice shades of brown because remember, oil pastels mix. If I outline some of my zigzag lines, and then add a little bit of brown just to kind of give it some more brown color, and then swirl and mix in some peach and some yellow, it's going to lighten that brown up. I love how oil pastels let you mix. Now, if you're going to use a different material, you can still try mixing. Crayons will do it, so will color pencils. I don't want the brown color of my coconuts to mix too much with the tree trunk, so I'm actually going to do something called shading. I'm going to add a little black to the brown. Now, when I do that with oil pastel, I have to very lightly put the black on the coconuts. And if you notice, it's not dark at all, because if you put too much, then it'll just be a black coconut. Now that I have that light layer of black, I'm going to go over with the brown. And because that black pastel mixes and swirls with the brown, do you see how the brown coconuts are much, much darker than the tree trunk? And that's why I like shading, because it helps me see each part of my picture as its own individual shape. Cool. I think I'm going to take my black pastel and I'm going to outline those Sharpie lines I made. You wouldn't want to outline over oil pastel with a Sharpie. That would ruin the Sharpie. But you can use a black oil pastel to get a nice dark line. And I'm going to do that with all the parts of my picture so that it really stands out bright and beautiful. Hey, 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 look at that palm tree. When it's outlined again with the black, it really makes the colors pop. Now I'm going to grab a pair of scissors and start to cut my palm tree out. And you just cut as carefully as you possibly can. And if you make a little mistake, one of your palm tree parts falls off, save it, because remember, we're just gluing the palm tree down later, so you can glue it back in place. All right, I'm going to get my cutting finished. In the time it took for me to draw and color my palm tree, my painting has dried, mostly. So you can see how nice the palm tree looks on it. But I think because I outlined my palm tree with black oil pastel, I'm going to go ahead and outline all the parts of my landscape picture too. It's going to make it look really nice and bright. Wow, this is already looking great. And now it's time for me to go ahead and figure out where I want my palm tree to go. I want to lay it somewhere over here on the right. Now, once I figure out where I want my palm tree to go, I'm going to flip my palm tree over and I'm going to put some glue in the back. Now, you notice my palm tree is sticking off the bottom a bit. That's okay. I can fix that in a minute. Make sure when you're gluing that you really take some time to put some glue all the way to the tips of your palm leaves and all down to the tip of your palm trunk. I'm even going to put a little extra on the tips here because I don't want things folding or falling off later. Sometimes when you glue to a painted surface, you need a little extra glue. Let's see, right here looks perfect. I'm going to get it nice and plastered down and then rub it on the back. That way you can slide your hand to really make that glue stick without smearing your artwork. Don't want to do that. And now I look at it and I say, oh, easy peasy lemon squeezy. Just trim that little bit off. Nice. Oh, I wish I could just jump into this picture and hang out by the beach. That looks so nice. My hands are dirty though. Woohoo! What do you think of the beach scene? Do you like it? It's pretty cool, isn't it? Do you wish you were at the beach right now? Yeah, me too, babe. Me too. Nope, it's not food. Don't lick it.